Mike and Kim Anderson are the founders of Blended Family Breakthrough, and they have made it their mission to help couples in step families move from confusion and conflict into a life marked by confidence, connection, and hope.
It's interesting because we've been doing this professionally about 10 years, but I would say that the journey really started shortly after our honeymoon.
You don't have to have all the fancy things and buy all the name brands and have all that to live richly. You can live within your means and also have lots of amazing experiences and create fun, precious memories with your family.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello, good to see you again.
Great to see you as always, my lovely partner. And welcome back to all of you to episode 73 of Living Richly with Curo. We're so grateful to have you back if you are an OG listener or here for the first time. If you are just checking us out, we appreciate all of you. My name is Ann McCabe. I am the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth, and I'm joined as always by my lovely partner, Atricia.
Hello, I am Atricia Robert, COO and partner here at Curo. Thanks for checking us out today.
Yes, and today we have some really special guests here with us, Mike and Kim Anderson. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here today.
Yeah. So if you are just checking us out for the first time, our goal and our mission is to help inspire, educate, and empower you on your financial journeys. And today we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart personally, and also to the hearts of a lot of our clients, because we do specialize in working with women who are going through a life transition. But today we're going to talk about how to make blended families work. And we are so excited to have Mike and Kim here to share some insights about not only their personal journeys, but their professional journeys as well.
Yeah, we're excited to be able to share. So thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I'm going to do a brief intro for those folks who may not be aware of your work, and then we will get right into some questions. So Mike and Kim Anderson are the founders of Blended Family Breakthrough, and they have made it their mission to help couples in step families move from confusion and conflict into a life marked by confidence, connection, and hope. And if you're watching the video version, you see a hope sign on their desk. So love that. They bring both a personal experience and professional training to their work. And over their own blended family journey, they faced relational, financial, and legal challenges, even being on the edge of divorce themselves, and have since turned those struggles into powerful tools to guide others. They have an amazing podcast, which I highly recommend checking out. They do coaching, and they also have a wonderful community. And through these platforms, they equipped couples to strengthen marriage, nurture children and stepchildren, and create stability in their homes. They deeply believe that every blended family can experience a future full of hope, connection, and peace. So let's give a warm welcome. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Mike and Kim.
Yeah, that was very kind words. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Fantastic. So we always get very excited when we have guests on who can add a different level of expertise to the conversations that Ann and I have with clients.
Yes. Yeah. And if you checked out our episode on blended family finances, I mentioned Mike and Kim on that episode because Wally, my heterosexual life partner, and I worked very closely with Mike and Kim, and they were phenomenal in helping our blended family. And I can attest that it is not an easy thing to do. So super excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks. And hi to Wally.
Yes.
So we will start our conversation today, like we typically start with all of our guests, and that's asking a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. So what was the inspiration behind founding the Blended Family Breakthrough?
Thanks for that, Atricia. It's interesting because we've been doing this professionally about 10 years, but I would say that the journey really started shortly after our honeymoon. We had an opportunity to connect with a professional in this field. We were just getting started. I grew up in a really dysfunctional blended family, and I was scared to death, quite honestly, even though I was in love with Kim and her daughter Annika. And so when we went to the seminar, we came back from our honeymoon and we were like, man, we need to keep learning, and other people in
Mm,
our community need to keep learning as well. So we got some
absolutely.
materials. We started leading support groups in our local community, and we did that for like 15 years just as a passion project together.
Mhm.
And then, kind of in the business side of my life, I spent most of my life in business operations, and I just felt this calling, this nudge that I need to help people. I need to go become a life coach. And shortly after kind of just launching into that, I told Kim, hey, I think we could really bring some value if we work together and we start serving couples.
Mhm.
So roughly 10 years ago, we launched into that. So much of it is because of our own experience and our own passion and our desire to help other people. And it really comes out of pain, right? As Anne mentioned a little bit ago, 15, 17 years ago, we were like right on the verge of divorce ourselves because of the complications and the stress and the dynamics. And we found a way through. And so
Mhm.
we want to help other people find a way through as well.
Or avoid some of the mistakes we made.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Better said. Yeah, better said.
Yeah, one of the things I always found really helpful when we were doing sessions with Wally is how open you all were to sharing and how you were so great at finding similar situations and really experience sharing with us. But you were always so willing to share your own experiences and be vulnerable, which I think broke down a little bit of a wall for us and enabled us to be able to be vulnerable with you all too. So I really appreciated
Great.
that.
Yeah. Thanks, Anne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So, one of the biggest challenges that we see in blended families is navigating finances. And obviously, we are a financial planning and wealth management firm. So, we have a acute focus on the financial piece. But
Mm.
especially when there are kids from previous relationships involved. So, what advice do you give couples who are trying to get aligned on money matters and money values, especially when we're talking about a blended household?
Great question. I like the word you used there for a moment is money values, because what we continue to find is that money is emotional,
Yes.
right? It's rooted in our values. It's rooted in what is it that we want for us and for our children. And that can be whether our children are just, young and in single digits in age. And it also can be when kids are grown and out of the house.
Yeah.
It can be challenging at any level. And so anytime we've got this kind of value system set up in one single parent home, and then a value system set up in another single parent home, and we expect to be the Brady Bunch and just blend and everything's going to be beautiful and
Should be easy,
wonderful.
right?
What yeah, what we tend to find is rather than merging, we end up colliding,
Yeah.
and we have to work through a lot of what goes on there. One of the ways a couple experts call it that I love is that there's above the surface issues that we need to work through, and those are probably a lot of the things that you guys work
Yeah.
on of the actual logistics of the money and
Mhm.
the decisions that we need to make. But those above the surface issues are really driven by the below the surface issues of what do I value? What do I want? What am I afraid of? And how can we actually talk about that in a vulnerable way? So
Mhm.
that's kind of the place that we tend to start is let's talk about the below the surface issues. Once we get aligned there, the above the surface issues are a lot easier to deal with.
Absolutely. And of course, there's challenges that come when we're blending a family beyond just the values around money, such as if one partner is receiving child support from their ex spouse and has excess money to spend on their children, but the other one is not, maybe they're even paying child support to their
Hmm.
ex. Now there's a difference in, how we allocate money to each set of kids, and that can create a lot of stress for parents, for couples when they come together. Other things are if they have to go through a legal or custody battle through the court system. That's expensive when you're hiring lawyers and guardian ad litem's and therapists. That is extremely expensive. We went through a season of that, and what we spend, like $100,000,
Almost
just
$100,000 over 3 years
and
in
that
the
was
family.
that was
Yeah.
15 years ago. So, I mean, it can be incredibly expensive based on kind of the backstory, the other parent, and the dynamics there, and what that relationship is like, and what the final divorce decree says, and what you have to live up to. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things that can really throw couples off when they start talking about money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mike, I think you bring up an excellent point, is that it even applies once the children are adults, right? I've had situations with clients where the money disagreement was how much do we help the adult children from the previous relationship. So I've been in the room, right, when that heated debate was happening. So I think it's also important to remember for our listeners and viewers that it's not just when the children are small, right? These value
Right.
conversations matter even once they have left the nest, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only how much do we help adult children, but sometimes, especially after a long season of being single later in life, and we have adult children out there, there might be one partner has built some wealth, and kids are expecting an inheritance.
Yes.
And now my parent has this new person in their life. Wait, what does that mean to everything that's been built? I actually have that in my own personal family, where my dad and stepmom. I've got a really complex blended family of origin. I was born into a blended family, and I've always been in a blended family my whole life. But my dad and stepmom worked hard, and they built some wealth. And then several years ago, my stepmom passed away, and now my dad is remarried, and several of my step siblings, and it's just hard to talk about, like, oh, wait, what's happening here? And so much of that is driven by values. And I would say underneath all that is trust. Like, can we trust dad to do the right thing? And so sometimes that can be really, that can be a powerful force, right? If we're struggling with trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to get too, technical here, but this is why we always talk about the power and the importance of doing estate planning when people
Yes.
are alive, and when they're able to put their wishes on paper and make sure everything is documented. And really, at the end of the day, the biggest gift that you can give your family and your loved ones is going through the process of doing estate planning. We realize it's not fun. It's not enjoyable to think about what's going to happen when you die, but it's really, really important, to your point, Mike, so that those wishes are on paper and they're documented, and there are legal repercussions if people don't follow them, so that your family members, have that clarity around what is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that gets really complicated sometimes when I have this new person in my life, and depending on what we believe or how we believe our money and our assets should be handled, that could create strife between us. There's nothing like a little money to create strife in a relationship.
For sure.
I tell people that all the time. Money, even when you think money won't be the issue after someone passes away, it always finds a way into the conversation. So better to get clear on it now than have it become chaos later.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And one reality around step families is that we each have different views of the children. So a biological parent views their child through the lens of love first, or a step parent will view that same child, their stepchild, through the lens of responsibility first. So both lenses are good, but it also applies to money. So all three of our children are now adults, and two of them are our mutual children.
Yeah, they're ours.
So my daughter Annika was the child I brought into our marriage. She was 5, and then we have 2 children together. So of course, our young adult children still come to us for help and support, and it's looked at differently, a little bit differently,
Yeah.
through Mike's lens than it is my lens when we help my daughter Annika.
Right.
And that's just something that's
Even 25 years
yeah.
later,
And
I just have this different approach or different thought process.
and it's not that he doesn't want to help and be generous to her. He just has different expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And with our mutual children, he can let things go a lot easier because
Right.
he's looking at his biological children through a lens of love. We both are. And so it's easier for him to let things slide and go when it comes to irresponsibility around money.
Yep.
Whereas with my daughter, he has a harder time letting that go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very insightful.
It's very complicated.
It does.
Emotionally.
Yeah. We talk about kind of assets and estate planning and that kind of thing. I wonder if we just shrink it back down a little bit to, okay, I got like a 10-year-old in the home and we're dealing with how we're going to make like everyday decisions. We were helping a couple a while back, and the husband was paying child support. The wife was actually receiving child support, and kind of alluding to what Kim was talking about earlier. But there was this moment where his child was in music, and he gets a call from the ex and is like, hey, we're at the music store and we need to buy a new saxophone. And your portion is fill in the blank.
Hundreds
of dollars, right? And they're working on a fairly slim budget. And that you can imagine the pressure of, of course I want to contribute to this. But now my new wife is saying, wait, you pay child support. Isn't that what child support is for? And so how much more do we give? And when does it stop? And all of this
impacts our budget.
But he's feeling pressure, and they're in the music store right now about to buy this saxophone and all of that. So you can see, again, those under the surface issues of loyalty and priority and love and all the things that pull on our heartstrings can be very at the macro level, like we're talking about estate planning, but also at the micro level of, hey, a one-time purchase around a few $100 to invest in a hobby or something that's actually really important for this child. And all of that can bring tension and strife.
Yeah. Again, complicated.
Yeah. So basically, the thing is, Atricia, don't be with a man with children. Okay, I got it. No, I'm teasing.
No, wrong.
That's
just
funny.
Understand the dynamics.
Absolutely.
Right. For certain. But I do think it is good tools. And again, if you listen to this podcast, I'm single. I don't have children, but I am open to dating men who have children and have dated men with children. So I think it is a good tool to hang on to, is that remembering that different lens, right? Like I'm viewing this child through the lens of responsibility, and it's a different for the biological parent. So even for us single people out here, I think there are some nuggets in there we can hold on to.
Yeah. And the lens of responsibility brings great value.
Absolutely.
Mike's lens helped me identify some blind spots. We all have blind spots in our parenting. And, he came along and kind of went, hey, what's going on here? And how do you think that's going to benefit your daughter in the long run? And once he learned how to talk to me about those things, believe me, we struggled for years to talk about my daughter and my parenting. But once we learned, he brought great value. And, my parenting became so much more effective once I was able to partner with Mike, and my daughter has reaped the benefits of that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the lens of responsibility. We just have to understand that we're looking at this child through 2 different lenses, and how do we navigate that as a couple?
Okay, so to the question about building some trust, right? Or that thought of building trust, what are some practical tips that you would give to blended families about building trust and connection, particularly with stepchildren, especially if there's, resistance or these loyalty binds? How would you advise these families?
Great question.
You want to take that one, honey?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the places I would start is that, trust really starts with transparency, especially early on in the relationship. We work with a lot of couples that are very early. We've got a program called Becoming Blended,
Mm-hmm.
and money is a topic that we need to
Mm-hmm.
talk about in there. And often, especially if we maybe have some debt, or we're embarrassed about, or we don't do a budget or whatever it is, sometimes we kind of shy away from some of those discussions. But really, if we want to build trust, we have to have transparency. So we need to get all that stuff up on the table and actually start talking about, okay, now what do we actually value, those
Mm-hmm.
under the surface issues, and how can we align our values with the above the surface issues of the technical of how are we going to actually do all this.
Mm-hmm.
Once we build alignment as a couple around, okay, this is what we want, this is where we see ourselves headed from a financial perspective. Now, when I get a phone call from the ex that says, hey, I need hundreds of dollars for a saxophone, it's a little bit less about a money issue and a little bit more about a boundary issue that helps align my new relationship. And what that might sound like in the moment is, hey, I know it's really important for us to support Johnny's music. I can't commit to all these hundreds of dollars right in this moment, but I can get back to you by Friday and let you know what I can contribute. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the ex is gonna be like, "What? I'm in the music store right now." Blah blah. They freak out. Yeah, yeah, I hear you, and I know this is really important. I
Mm-hmm.
can't commit to a dollar amount right now, but I can get back to you on Friday. And we just hold that line, and then we come back and we talk about this as a couple. Okay, how does this align with our values? What can we do?
What are we
Because
willing to do?
most likely
Mm-hmm.
stepmom also wants to help Johnny with his music as well.
Yeah.
She's not just totally shut down. No, we're not giving Johnny anything. That's pretty rare, actually. Um, but the point is, there's a big difference between coming back to my wife and saying, honey, Johnny is really doing well in music and he needs a new saxophone. I would like to be able to contribute to that. Can we have a discussion about that? Versus, hey, I got a call from the ex today and I sent her X hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
What? Like, those are radically different conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about how do we be transparent about what's going on, and how do we hold boundaries around the commitments and the plan that we've made together as a couple, right?
And the
If we could
values.
just
Mm-hmm.
if we could just do those two things, we would actually save ourselves a whole lot of strife.
Mm-hmm. And then, as far as building trust with stepchildren, which I think you also asked about, that really boils down to being available and approachable and interested in what your stepchild is doing and what they're interested in without pushing your way in and without expecting to become their parent,
Mhm.
and letting the child set the pace, which sounds so counterintuitive. People are always like, what? We're giving the kids the power and control? No, we're allowing a child who's been through a lot, has already dealt with loss and things outside of their control that they probably weren't thrilled about. Now there's this new step parent in their life that they probably don't know all that well. We're allowing that child some space and some time to get to know that new step parent in a way that they can handle, so that they can build trust and genuine connection.
Mm.
So the step parent stays available, stays open, stays interested, shows up as much as the excuse me, as much as the stepchild is comfortable, and at the same time doesn't make demands, doesn't step over the line and start disciplining, correcting, directing, doesn't get, all bent out of joint if the child doesn't want them at their baseball game because it's uncomfortable
Mm.
when mom and dad are there and now stepdad's here and dad doesn't really like stepdad, or they aren't friends, and now I'm really uncomfortable at my own game. It's okay for a child to be able to say that, and the adults to honor that, because it will take time to build that trusted relationship.
For sure. Yeah. Can I add a little bit to that?
Sure, of course.
I think another thing that can really erode trust with stepchildren is when there's a sense of double standards.
Hmm.
And that can be really challenging, especially when there is a disparate income between the two partners, right? When one partner earns a ton of money and the other one doesn't earn as much. And now the one who earns less, they may have some kids who feel like they don't get as much as this other set of kids. And so within the home, we need to create a sense of equity. That doesn't mean that everything has to be equal. Equal and equitable are two different things, but we need to be able to bring that to the surface and kind of talk through that. And when we can do that more as a family, then the step relationships can grow trust. But a sense of double standards, even if the adults say, well, we don't have double standards in our house, but the kids feel like there's double standards, that will erode trust.
Yeah.
And so we have to talk through that stuff, which again comes back to transparency and partnership, really building trust.
Yeah, because double standards really speak to priorities and loyalties,
Exactly.
and kids will pick up on it really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things I always remember you all saying is leave the correction to the bio parent and the step parent focus on connection. And I always remember that because
Yeah.
it's easy to remember. Connection versus correction.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. One blended family expert, Patricia Papernow, she kind of coined that. It's connection before correction, especially early on for a step parent.
Which is easier
Yeah.
said than done.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
I'm great at correcting. I don't know what the problem is. I'm really good at correcting.
So easy to correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so clear too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what child, wants to have one more adult in their life telling them what they can and can't do and what they should and shouldn't be doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I have
mean,
yet to meet a 13-year-old that's like, hey, mom, you know what I really need in my life is some adult guy telling me what to do. I wish I had one of those. Can we find one?
yeah.
No teenagers
Nope.
asking for that.
Yeah, we
No.
want to
No.
try and build as many positive associations with the step parent as we can, not negative associations.
Absolutely.
That's especially in the beginning. Eventually, the step parent, through building trust and connection, can earn relational authority with a child. But in the beginning, all they really have is positional authority. Yeah, they're in the home, they're an adult, but until you have relational authority, you really can't go in and start directing a child without taking a hit. Like
Yep.
the kid is just going to start pushing back. You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Why should I listen to you? But when you've earned that trust and you've got that connection because you're interested in them and you're allowing them to set the pace and you're being involved as much as they're willing, over time, they will start to allow you to have some authority
Absolutely.
in a healthy way and really respond well to it. But it does take time.
Yeah. So you were just talking about, especially in the beginning, and I'm wondering what piece of advice, and maybe you boil it down to one piece of the most important advice that you all could give to a newly forming blended family.
Ooh.
Just one.
Well, I'm gonna steal the answer of step family expert Ron Deal, who has written, I think, over 9 books on the topic of step families, and he's a marriage and family therapist. And someone asked him this very question, and his answer was, learn everything you can about blended dynamics. And I mean, that's the best thing you can do. Understand what the children have been through, understand their journey and where they might be struggling, and understand your own expectations, your partner's expectations. Are those realistic? And start being willing to adjust some of those. People often have very unrealistic expectations, but when you can learn and understand, that starts to help you we're not going to lower expectations. We're going to clarify and build on expectations that are realistic.
That's right.
So we don't experience disappointment.
Yeah, I think I would second that. And part of the why behind the what on that is that blended family life is just simply different than first family life.
Yes.
And a lot of the strategies that we have to put in place in order to allow for that trusting relationship to build, particularly in step relationships, is actually counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It goes kind of against what we would think would be the normal thing. Something as simple as, well, if we want everybody to build connection, then we should spend a whole lot of family time together, right? Well,
Seems to make sense.
problem with that is the tension's always highest when everybody's together. So we actually have
Mm.
to strategize that a little bit differently. And that's one that many, many couples trip over.
Yeah, they're just,
But
Mhm.
but the point is, how do we go about learning all we can so that we understand not just that simple strategy, but the 100 others that are so counterintuitive to what we think family life should feel like?
yeah, we call them easy wrong turns. You don't know you're making a wrong
Mhm.
turn because it seems to make sense to you, but then
Yeah.
you get there and you're like, whoa, what's
Whoa, what
happening?
happened?
Yeah. Yep. And we had a little bit of education on the front end, and we
we
still
still
made a
made
bunch
them.
of easy
Yeah.
wrong turns, right? So we had to keep learning and just
Yeah,
keep
the
learning.
dynamics are just very tricky
Yeah.
and confusing.
It's true.
And so learn everything you can, get all the help you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely gives you an advantage, especially before you move under one roof.
For sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
would be our best
Mhm.
advice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now how can the couples focusing on the mom and dad, or the dad and dad, or mom and mom, or whatever your blended family looks like, how can they strengthen their relationship and avoid letting parenting or step parenting dynamics drive a wedge between them? Because essentially this started as the dynamic between two adults. And so how can they, what tips would you share with the actual relationship part of the blended family?
Great question.
Well, first and foremost, invest in your relationship. Blended family dynamics, I mean, blended family life in general is busy, right? We've got kids' activities, we've got work, we've got schedules, we've got, parent teacher night, we got all these things going on. And often it's a relationship that kind of gets put on the back burner because we're in kind of survival mode. We got to keep it together. Nothing can slip through the cracks. And so we schedule all these things, but we don't schedule, ongoing date nights. And we don't take that time to invest in our relationship. And when we do take time, we need to invest in a heart-to-heart connection, not just talking about the family business stuff and problems with the kids and problems with the ex and finances and all the things. Yes, that's important. We need to talk about those things, but we also need to have a real connection time that's free from all of the stuff, all of the stressors, where we're just talking about our hopes and dreams for the future, and we're learning new things about each other, and we're laughing and we're flirting and we're playing, doing things like we did in the beginning of our relationship. We want to carry those out and keep at that, even when we're under stress and there's conflict and pain in what we're experiencing. And that was an easy wrong turn we took when we were going through a 3-year stint in the family court system because my ex, it's a long story. I won't go into all the details, but my ex alienated my daughter from us. And so we had to fight for my parental rights for my daughter. And that was a long and painful season. And it was full of so many ups and downs financially and emotionally and relationally. It was just so heavy and hard. And we knew we needed to do it. And we were united in, we're gonna, we're not gonna let this go. Like, we're gonna fight for her rights, and we're gonna make sure that we stay intact. However, our relationship did kind of slide to the back.
And then we weren't united.
And at the end of that, we were like, what? We had nothing. I mean, we were on the verge of calling it quits because we were exhausted from all we had been through. And then we had nothing to fall back on as far as our relational connection.
Right. Yeah, definitely continuing to invest in that romantic relationship is a huge piece of it. And what that does is it starts to undergird some of the dynamics that tend to pull us apart.
Yeah.
We think, hey, like said earlier, oh, this is going to be wonderful, like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
But we quickly find out that the dynamics themselves tend to pull us apart rather than push us together.
Yeah.
And so what I would add to all that is figuring out alignment. You asked about parenting and step parenting strategies. Figuring out the alignment of where we're headed as a family and what's most important for us to focus on in this season can help us to actually become partners around the things that are hard. When we don't do that, we experience this thing, we call it the stranded stranger trapped teammate dynamic. So because of the history of these relationships, especially with the kids, we end up in these positions. So for me as a stepdad, I ended up as a stranded stranger because Kim and her daughter have this connection that I just don't get. Like I can't be part of this little bubble that they have and their inside jokes and their knowing glances and they're just funny things that they laugh at that I'm like, why are they laughing? I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm always feeling kind of on the outside, even in my own home. And that's a really painful place to be. But on the flip side, Kim is in this trapped teammate position where when Mike feels this is a priority and Annika feels that is a priority, and Kim is pulled, she's like a rope in a tug of war where, well, I really want to lean into what my daughter wants, but I also want to honor this marriage with Mike. And no matter what I do, I'm going to disappoint somebody. I'm always losing no matter what. And so guess what? That pulls us apart as a couple because our experience is radically different. But when we can sit down together and say, hey, what's really important for our home? Can we actually just describe that and then define it in a way that honors both Mike and Kim's perspective and then start moving toward living that out with all the kids in the home? When alignment like that happens, it rarely eliminates the trapped teammate, stranded stranger experience, but it definitely reduces the impact of it.
Yeah. It minimizes the pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep dating and then get aligned around where you're headed. Those are like the two primary categories.
We call it identifying your desired destinations.
Exactly.
Right, Ann?
Yeah. What are your kids going to say about their upbringing at a barbecue 10 or 15 years down the line? Think about that often.
That's a great question. Yeah. That's a great question.
I heard it from some very smart people.
Right, really smart people.
What do you want their experience to be while they're living under your roof? Because you get to,
what do you want them to say?
That.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, so many great nuggets, not surprising. We are about to wrap here. And again, so many great nuggets from you all that I think hopefully people will take away. But the last question that we love to finish with is, what does living richly mean to you all?
That's a good question. I remember a time in our marriage, it was a while back. I can't even remember how many years back, but I remember we came together and we kind of talked about what was important to us, the priorities. And one thing that we identified was spending time together, having experiences and making memories as a family was a high priority over and above kind of things, buying things, having things, having the big house and the fancy cars and getting our kids everything they want. That was a lower priority. Now, of course, having experiences and creating memories also takes money because that means you're going out and about and doing things, which of course is very expensive. But we would do things like camping trips, things that, didn't bust the budget, but were still really fun and adventurous. And our kids look back on those camping trips and they have so many fun memories. We still laugh about things that happened on our camping trips, the ones that went well and the ones that were disasters. Always, and it didn't cost a lot of money, and it's kind of cool when you build those special memories with your kids without spending tons of money, and then you see them also prioritizing those things. So our son recently took his girlfriend camping and
Mhm.
borrowed all of our camping stuff. He's 21,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take her to that campsite that we used to go to, the
Mhm.
same place," and then sent
Mhm.
me pictures of them hanging out at the same exact places that we took our kids when they were little. And it's just kind of cool to see, how much that meant to them and how little that cost as far as, money.
Mhm.
But that's kind of what living richly means, at least from my perspective. Of you don't have to have all the fancy things and buy all the name brands and have all that to live richly. You can live within your means and also have lots of amazing experiences and create fun, precious memories with your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, I think for me, I think in two buckets. When I think really from a practical stand and financially speaking, I'm a provider. I want to be a provider and I want to provide well for my family. So I'm a pretty hard worker. There is, I want to make sure that they have the things that they need. I definitely am not afraid to say no to wants, but I want our family to be able to enjoy, some fun things in life. And so there's certainly for me, it means working hard in order to achieve some of those things like Kim was talking
Mm-hmm.
about, and those experiences to make them really special and really fun. But at the core for me, living richly, it's that word you mentioned earlier, and it's hope.
Mm-hmm.
When I can have hope, even in a moment of just feeling down or feeling like, how are we ever going to figure this out? Or when we're going through a 3-year court battle and spending $100,000,
Right.
can I actually hold on to hope that this is going to get better? And not only do I have that from our 25-year history, but even now, 25 years in, empty nesters, all the things that we're doing, like I'm kind of a growth mindset person. And so I have hope that we're going to grow. And in a year from now, we're going to have deeper intimacy, deeper connection than we do today. And so for me, I think it's those two buckets, definitely a practical standpoint, but really at the core, that's why part of our goal is to cultivate hope for blended families.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mhm.
really personal for me, really personal for me.
Mhm. Yeah. To grow as a couple and to help others grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love both of
And
those answers.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So great.
Thanks.
So before we let you all run, if our listeners and viewers, which I'm sure they will be, are interested in following you all, learning more, I mentioned the podcast, but where can people find you if they're interested in connecting or learning more about your work?
Well, thanks for asking. The
Mm-hmm.
simplest place is blendedfamilybreakthrough.com. And you can schedule a free initial coaching call. Just
Mm-hmm.
click the button right at the top of the website. We'd be happy to connect.
Yes, we would.
Yeah. And I will say that initial call for Wally and I, there was so much value added in that initial call that we were so grateful for. And it made the decision very easy to work with you all. So thank you for that. And the
Yeah.
podcast is phenomenal. I recommend it quite frequently. Atricia and I know a couple people in blended family situations, and I'm like shooting episodes their
Yeah.
way. Like, check this one out. Check this one out. So
Thank
it's a
you.
great podcast as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Atricia.
Thanks.
I was going to say thank you both so much. Thank you for your transparency and willingness to just share your own very intimate personal stories. Ann and I, as practice leaders who sort of lead our work with passion, right? We work with who we do because of the experiences she and I both have been through. I always find that it kind of drives the work you do in such a different way when you have a real intimate connection to the work that you're doing. So thank you guys so much for opening up your own stories and things you've experienced with our listeners and with us today. I'm sure Ann has probably heard some of these things, but for those of us who haven't been through the Blended Family Breakthrough Program, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's our
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. Yes.
Yeah. Great to connect with you all again. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you again for tuning in. And until next time,
Live richly.
thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.